So to make someone wait for you is to waste their time. Of course, if you are making someone wait for you, you're disrespecting them. That means you don't value their time. That's how they feel, that you don't value their time. And I want to suggest that if you don't value someone else's time, it's probably because you haven't learned to value your own time yet. You may feel a desperate need to fulfill your obligations on time, but until you learn to respect what time is, see, then you'll never be able to keep up. And you'll always be inadvertently insulting other people or disrespecting them in terms of the value of their time. If you haven't learned to value your time yourself. So, okay, each this time we call time is made up of what we call little moments. But of course, if we look right here, there's no little moments. It's just this flow, right? Just a flow that we call the passing of our life, I suppose. We experience just a continual flow. And we check in and we check out of that flow. We're aware of this, what's happening in this moment. We're aware of this completely at times. And then we get distracted, think about something in the past, something in the future, something I need to get done. Oh, time, I've got to get this done right now so I can get that done. So then time goes out the window. We don't value it because we don't know how to pay attention to it. So, like everything else, the reason the teacher is always, at least my teacher was Suzuki Sensei, was always insisting I learn to understand and value time, is because that's our practice, right? In other words, our practice is to be in the moment. And it's only natural that we have anxiety moments that take us away from the moment and we have to return to it. But the practice is to return to it. The practice isn't to get distracted by it. The human nature is to get distracted by it, but our practice is to return, return, return. So when we learn that, every I just always have trouble with this word moment, because of course there's no moment. Look, if you look at the moment's gone. There's no moment to look at. And yet, we can call it being present, let's say. If we're not present, we don't experience what's happening. And what's happening is always 100% original. Nothing is ever repeated. Every single moment in time is original and unique. It never happened before, and it will never happen again. So when we're bored with something, it means we're not paying attention, right? Because it's fascinating, it's compelling, this life of ours. Every moment is completely unique. You never know what's going to happen. And it's a life and death situation, folks, right? You don't know what's going to happen. So therefore, it's life and death. Don't assume that it's not, because the moment you die will always be now. It won't be later. So every moment we have to consider it to be that. And when you consider your life this way, then you'll never keep anybody else waiting. Then you'll never disrespect someone else's time. Of course, Suzuki Sensei and Toi Sensei were very, very strict about this business of respecting the teacher's time. That's the way they spoke about it. But of course, if you learn to respect the teacher's time, that means you've learned to respect your time. And once you've learned to respect your time, then you can respect everyone's time. So the teacher is just, as usual, just somebody you practice on. He's just somebody who volunteers their time for you to practice on. So you don't want to insult that volunteer time, that sacrifice that the teacher makes. And it's not just showing up before class. It's showing up everywhere. For instance, when you're practicing otomo, you have to go meet the sensei at his hotel room or at his at the dojo, but also at his home. You have to pick him up to take him to the airport, pick him up to take him to dinner or lunch or to a meeting or some activity. Right? So there's always this connection when you're coming together with another person that you practice with your sensei on. You practice how to come together. And you can never trust that this will happen, where the perfect meeting occurs. So Suzuki Sensei always taught me, if you're 15 minutes early, you're late. In other words, make sure that you leave enough time that ahead of time, so that no matter what happens, you won't waste your teacher's time. So this is really about empathy, isn't it? And being empathetic to someone else's situation. And like they say, you can't love someone else unless you learn to love yourself first. So this is another example of that. It's very simple. You can't really respect someone else and value their time and their use of it without respecting and valuing your own time first. Okay, so that's about what I have to say about that. Ilima Loomis is your moderator tonight, and she will now send you to your discussion rooms. See you soon. Okay, so I think I want to say one thing before we start. I can see Phoenix is ready to go here. So Suzuki Sensei was my teacher, of course. So when I tell you what he said to me, just understand that he was my teacher and he was trying to help me trust myself. But when I was beginning teaching and I wasn't very sure about whether I was doing a good job or not, or even if it would ever be possible for me to teach Aikido, he was the one that stepped forward and told me, you are a good teacher. Someday you'll be a great teacher. You are very good at this. Now, I wasn't very good at it. I mean, not the way I saw it. But to hear Suzuki Sensei say that he valued my time that I was spending, this made a huge difference to me. So, when we value someone else, we're giving them permission to value themselves. How great is that? And not just between teacher and student, but between you and everyone. Whether it's at work or in school or in your family. This is big. So it just seems like it fits right in with this business of learning to value someone else's time. Okay, I'll be quiet. So who's first? Group one. Yes.
Hi, good evening, Sensei. Good evening, everyone. I'm in group one. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Sensei Paiva, Fincher Sensei, Kaomi, and and Sensei Curtis, Lynn Curtis. So just kind of where we started was with Lillian having, yeah, Sensei Paiva just talking about how much she didn't pay attention to her time or others until she sort of had an awakening at a leadership training where it just hit her like a lightning bolt, how disrespectful it was. And Sensei Fincher is just talking about the, having a longtime acquaintance who purposefully was late because he thought it was silly to have to be on someone else's schedule. And so we talked. And Lynn was really talking about, how that this issue is really depends on the scale. Like if you're in Japan, everybody's on their toes, aligned with each other and completely super mindful, right? And then as you step away, then that just slides away. So it's circumstantial. It depends on where we are, and we can slip back to our habits easily. And for me, I just really tying this together with the last couple of talks, including kind of the whole concept of consistency. And then on Wednesday, Boyer Sensei was talking about really the value of routine, of having a set schedule, of doing the same thing every time. And I think what came to me out of that that's been helpful is the idea that then you see your day ahead of you. No, it's not. I tend to go from one thing to another without, like I was saying, I plan ahead for big things. If I have a specific message I have to deliver at a meeting or something, then I take a little time ahead of time. But often it's like I make a list in the morning and then I just am going from thing to, item to item without actually taking the time before any time that I know I'm going to meet someone to just think about them and think about what's afoot and how much disruption that causes me and them. So.
Yeah, I think that that's very insightful. It could be a real rude awakening when we
yes.
when we begin to notice how disrespectful we have been in our effort to get ahead in our world and get everything done and be effective. And we're actually not really very useful always. And this business about having a routine. I don't know. I'm sure maybe Boyer Sensei talked about this, but the value. I'm a real routine-oriented person, and the value of that to me is that when I began living according to routine, the danger that ahead of time I thought before when I was seeing this was happening, I thought, I don't want to be careful I don't get into habits, habits. God forbid if your habit is chaos. See, so what I realized is that for the first time, I was able to take the time because the time is cut out for you. It's there. And so for the first time, I was able to take the time to really value my own attention, awareness. So Suzuki Sensei was always teaching me about awareness, but I never understood what he meant. Early on, it was very, I thought I did. Sure, you should be aware. I thought he meant like, remember to pick up that piece of paper kind of deal. Well, I mean, on some level he did, but it's being aware of the value of the moment. And that we are given this wonderful article I read. we're all given the same, but look at how different we are in the way that we use that 24 hours. And I remember one time Melly Stokesbury Sensei came to me and said, you know, I don't understand. You have these companies and you have this huge family and you teach. How do you have time to do all this? And I realized when she said that, oh, that's right. I do have a lot of things that I do. But you know, I hadn't even noticed it because Suzuki Sensei had gifted me with this valuing that I didn't grow up with, you know, and that I fell into by meeting him. So I think this is extremely undersold in our society. Okay, so thank you. Next group.
Thank you, Sensei.
Good evening, good morning, everyone.
Oh, good evening, good morning.
I was in breakout room 2. Am I audible?
Yes.
With Charles Boyer Sensei, Olaf Schubert Sensei, Charlotte, and myself. He started the conversation by concluding did not really see the problem, which is probably the problem. Is there a problem in an absolute way? Because we thought you cannot actually waste your anybody else's time unless you waste your own time. When you do not appreciate what's in the moment, then you waste your time. Another person said, do I have a problem if my pupils do not appreciate their opportunity to learn in the moment? Do I give them a wrong example in some way? Does it have to do with not appreciating what is going on in the moment, not really loving what's going on in the moment, which makes you not appreciate your time? And then the last thought was about something you discussed earlier on, that you have to meditate early in the morning because the entire universe is doing it together with you. But at the same time, it's a different time everywhere in the world. So if you don't understand that, then you don't understand at all. So I don't understand at all. All of these things were discussed. It's hard to make one question out of it, but I think the gist of it is there a relation between not appreciating what's going on in the moment and wasting your time?
Yeah, of course. Of course, if you don't know what's going on, it means you're not paying attention. And if you're not paying attention, of course, you're wasting your time. You only have this time. That's all there is. So if you're not paying attention, then of course, it's going to be, you're going to miss what's happening. And that's what we call wasting time. You said something about if I didn't quite get the first thing you said about if you're causing someone else to waste their time. I just didn't get the logic there.
Can I repeat?
Yes, would you repeat that, please?
Is there a problem at all? Because can you waste somebody else's time at all?
Okay. Yeah. Can you waste someone else's time? Yes, of course you can. Yeah. It's like Suzuki Sensei used to actually say that when you're late for class, you steal my time. And I was thought, well, this other students are still getting it and you're there. And so how am I stealing your time? And, but it's because I'm looking at it only objectively or only as a subject-object world. So I'm not there, so therefore it's fine. I'm not causing you any trouble. But Suzuki Sensei is trying to teach me that I'm the center of the universe. It's like that thing about that koan about if you're not in the forest and a tree falls, if no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. And you can't make a statement about that. You can't say one way or the other. You can if you use just logic, but then ultimately that doesn't hold up because you can't prove it. There's no proof. There's no way to know. So it's like the first thing we need to do is show up. Learning to show up, now show up just doesn't mean show up to class. It means showing up and being responsible for yourself, being responsible for your own time. Respecting your own time is another way to say that. And when you do respect your time, then you become very respectful of someone else's time. If you dismiss that as unimportant when you're not there, then you're making yourself not important. You're making yourself, you're devaluing yourself. So I think it's really important to do that, to recognize that. Now, the second thing he said is, somebody said, I'm paraphrasing here, beat myself up because my students aren't respecting me. No. That's reverse engineering. That's the opposite of what you want to do. If your students are not respecting you, okay, and not showing up on time, and that means they're not respecting their own time. So you need to respect them, respect their time. So well, at least when I was learning to teach, my instinct was always to scold you. Do you know that there's this thing about in etiquette that if you are Udansha or higher, black belt or higher, and you miss a class, you inform the teacher. Do you know about this? Probably all the black belts do. But do you always do that? Yeah, everyone does, but some people don't. So that means that they're not devaluing me, they're devaluing themselves. They think I don't matter. To themselves, they think to themselves, I guess I don't matter. I'm not important. But to the teacher, you're very important. So when the teacher, that etiquette was established because the teacher wants to help you learn to value yourself by valuing your time. And so acknowledging that is very, very important. And I think that's, like I said in the beginning, I thought my inclination was to scold someone for not following the rules. But that's completely missing the point. Someone is not following the rule is for their benefit. So then you have to support them better. You have to support them more. And that doesn't mean beat yourself up or be guilty or take a blame. It's not that at all. It's just a message for you. Yes, redouble your efforts. You need to love them more. You need to support them more. And early morning meditation. Okay, so that's what I like. And that's what I've been taught is the best time. Now, whether it's the best time because I like it or I like it because it's the best time, I don't think it matters. If that's not the best time for you, then feel free to do it some other time. And please don't trouble yourself about this business about it being different time and different place. I was being a little facetious when I said that. Don't worry about that, please. That you pick the time that's best for you to sit and learn to sit and appreciate it. Okay? And maybe I said put too much emphasis, I think, on the early morning routine. It disturbed many people, so please excuse me. We won't worry about that. Okay? Thank you very much. Group 3.
Hello, Sensei. I'm in
Hello.
group 3 along with Tracy Sensei, Gloria Sensei, and I believe Sally, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the last person's name. Yeah, we were discussing this about, Tracy brought up the fact that in Japan, as well as you, everybody walked to the destination, so they knew exactly what time and how long it would take them to get there. And here in the United States, with this modern times, we're subject to traffic and our other jobs and whatnot. And it came down to a point where, if in case we're late or we can't make it, is it acceptable? And I think you answered that question for yourself to text or, email the instructor to say, I'm really sorry, but, I'm going to be late. Is that okay? Or, I'm not able to make it. So I'm glad you said, that in etiquette wise that, that's what, one should do. And then there was a second question that came up that was, although we are respecting ourselves and the instructor to being on time, for those instructors that will start earlier than on time or end late on time, is that also possibly the instructor not respecting the students' time? Because they schedule things to get from point A, go to class, end class, zoom off to the next scheduling. But if if you have an instructor that is always late and will extend, I so far have loved it. But is that also a disrespect to the students' time?
Yes, I would say if the instructor is late showing up, that's not respecting the student's time.
Well, no, I mean going overtime or starting early.
Well, I mean, you have to know your teacher. Like I always start 5 minutes early before the class, before 6 o'clock or before 7 or 9 or whenever the time of the class is. I start 5 minutes before because my teacher Suzuki always started 5 minutes before. But if you know your teacher, that's not starting early. That's starting on time for that teacher. All right. And anyway, you're supposed to be there 15 minutes early, so it shouldn't be a problem. Now, if the teacher is late, that's a different matter. And if the teacher goes over at the end, you ask me, is that also disrespecting them? Well, I will say this about that. I can remember many, many times. Shinichi Sensei sometimes is not aware of the time. Toei Sensei, Koichi Toei Sensei was never late. Boom, on the hour, he's done. That's it, he's gone. But Shinichi Sensei is into something, and sometimes even I have to go remind him, oh, it's time. It's 5 minutes past. Oh, okay, let's call time. And I won't say that's never happened to me, but I don't make a habit of it, but I think it probably has. Maybe for most instructors, they've made that mistake. I think that the students probably, it's no more than 5 minutes, and probably the students waste at least that much time between the class and their next appointment, if they happen to have one. Most usually it's time to go home at the end of the day because that's when the class is, right? Or if you're at a seminar, you're captured anyway, there's nowhere to go. So I don't know, I think that's like stretching to try to find something that's a problem when there isn't one. I think that, and anyway, if it's the teacher and I'm the student, then I'm going to just not worry about it anyway, because I know that even if it's my friend down the street and something like that happens, there's something in it for me to learn. But if my teacher does it, I guarantee you there's something in it for me to learn, even if it's just forgiveness. Okay. Right. All right. Next.
Hi, Sensei.
Hello, Joel.
Hi. So I was in group 4 with Roy Sensei, Johnny Sensei, Priya, and Vitali.
Priya.
And Priya. Vitali. And actually, I had a question, and we all talked about that. So that's why I'm bringing this question. And my question was, even if you work on yourself on not being late, but if you have people around you that are late, and it's something that both that doesn't get better, even if you've talked to them, and also maybe it's in their cultural background, and how do you deal with that? One of the person in the group said, well, you have a talk with them, you tell them it's not the right thing. And another person say, well, you also have to have compassion. But for myself is, I get upset. and how do you deal with that? And how, you know, I have a tendency to want to change the other person by saying you shouldn't do this, and so I'm wondering what is the approach, or is just being an example enough, and not to try to change anybody, but try to change your own attitude.
Hmm.
You know, so that's
Yes.
my question.
Okay, thank you very much. This is actually quite common, this problem. Probably everybody has some degree of this in some relationship somewhere. And yes, the problem is getting upset about it. That's the problem. Making it a problem, in other words. It reminds me that my daughter's married to a Brazilian guy. And in that culture, it just doesn't exist. This whole idea, it doesn't exist, as in many cultures. And so, as you know, I like to cook, and so when we have a gathering, I cook food, and I used to get very upset because he would come late, or he would make the family come late, or something would happen and they wouldn't come when I said. And he was looking at me like, so what's the problem here? And everybody spoke to me like, because nobody wants me to be upset. So they're all like, hey, cool off. So what? Doesn't matter. But my meal is ruined. So I learned, I knew I had to like take care of this. And so I only cook certain kinds of meals when they're coming over. It won't get destroyed. I don't make last something that's got to be served out of the pan like that. Or if I do, I wait until right at the end and then I announce to them, okay, I'm gonna do this last thing and then we'll eat. And it sort of takes care of it. I'm not an angel about it, but I'm much better now. But so you do just have to find a way. If you live with someone that's late, change the clocks in the house. Unbeknownst to anyone but you. Works great, guarantee it. If that seems like cheating or something, I don't know. The main thing is that you don't get upset. You have to accept whoever is around you as those you've chosen to be around you. And to get upset because they choose to be the way they are, it just doesn't make any sense, right? So if you need to be somewhere on time, take your own car. It's not a problem. Do you see what I mean? You have to find a way, in other words. You have to work it out. mean, if you can just, I think it's naive to say that, well, you could just talk to them, because these are lifelong cultural habits, and they're only negative to you because of your training and your particular culture and the way you go about things. So other people are not like that, right? So if they were to train in Aikido, like, okay, can I say this? Okay, Guilherme is from Brazil, and now he's training Aikido. And we had a really funny discussion one day when Kashiwaya Sensei was here, and a bunch of us were going to dinner with Kashiwaya Sensei, and Guilherme showed up like 15 or 20 minutes late. And I thought, oh, you know, because I knew it was going to be, because he tends to be like late. And Kashiwaya Sensei was laughing. And the way he treated him was good, was respectful, but at the same time made it quite clear that he was out of bounds. And I thought, oh, that was very masterful, very skillful on Kashiwaya Sensei's part. I didn't have to say anything, and I didn't try. So, you know, it's for all of this stuff, it's us being forgiving and not putting it on someone else. You're the center of the universe, and it's your life, so you work it out. You know, we get upset because we blame those Brazilians, you know. It's not a fault. It's just different, right? Okay.
Thank you,
What I'd say
Sensei.
about that.
Very
Thank you.
helpful.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next group.
That was our last group, Sensei, but I
Ah,
see
okay.
Carlos Boyer Sensei raise his hand.
Yes. Where Sensei, please.
Oh,
speak
no,
up.
sorry, Sensei. I thought there was another group. Sorry.
Well, since I have you here, perhaps you'd like to say something.
Oh, I found this very interesting, very compelling.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, we do face a situation, a cultural different situation quite
Yeah.
often.
Quite often in Hawaii, constantly. And even the some parts of the, you know, we say Maui time. But I mean, there's cultures all over the world. Japanese culture is very unique. And this is a Japanese martial art. So they're very insistent about being on time and respect. And that's something I really love about the Japanese and about Aikido. And that's one of the reasons why I stuck with it. And I think it's probably true of everyone here. Everybody likes that and sees the value, let me say, in that. And I think that, so in some sense, we're preaching to the choir here, all amongst us ourselves. But as Joel brought up, you know, there's still situations in our life constantly, as you said, that are challenging, and yeah, accommodating and forgiving is very, very important. Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And this was very nice. So I'll see you all on Sunday. All right. Aloha. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
Don't want to
Leave
get
you now. Bye-bye.